Hey guys, Sneaky Snake here, Brothers in Arms, World of Warships. In today's video, we're going to take a look at our next installment in our Teamwork series, and this replay features the TheWickedWyrm and 3FM of the Squad clan playing in the Ibuki and the Yugumo, respectively, the Tier 9 Japanese heavy cruiser and Japanese destroyer, and they're playing some domination here on the map Hotspot. So usually our Teamwork series videos includes myself, Puddin, or Spider. However, this replay that was sent to me by the TheWickedWyrm was, well, to put it lightly, absolutely insane. And it's not just from the raw amount of XP and damage that is dealt, but just the overall, I guess, mood of the gameplay. They get down big, like really big, and they're able to pull out an epic comeback with some help, of course, from the enemy team and a few good bits of RNG thrown their way. But this replay is one of the biggest carries that I've ever seen, and I've certainly had my fair share, and I'm sure those guys have had their fair share as well. But please enjoy this replay. This game is going to be one hell of a ride. So yeah, the Ibuki and the Yugumo at Tier 9. Two ships that are not generally considered the best at their respective classes. The Ibuki has been around for a long time, and it's a very simple playstyle. You stay at range, you utilize your good stealth and maneuverability, and you burn things down. And then if you want to close the distance, you do have 10-kilometer torpedoes to be able to work in the mid-range combat. But generally speaking, this is a second-line support cruiser where you're not worried about trying to push caps. You don't have radar. You don't have really good hydro. All you have are your 10 203mm guns and really good high-explosive shells. With the Yugumo, well, we all know that Japanese destroyers aren't necessarily in the best place right now. And even though they do have some of the best performing torpedoes tier for tier in the game, we all know what the elephant in the room is with them, and it's their absurdly high surface detection range, which makes dodging them a lot easier than other nations. So the Yugumo, basically, to do well in a game, has to have enemy ships that maybe aren't playing at a high level, or, you know, just has to get some nice ambush torpedoes off, basically getting some good salvos from angles that enemy ships just aren't expecting. And, you know, it has very limited firepower, albeit it's pretty decent firepower, at least for a Japanese destroyer standard. But the torpedoes are certainly the bread and butter, and if you're not able to hit with them very often, then it's going to be a frustrating ship to play. And for the Ibuki's case, it's just been power creeped. There's a lot of other things, like, for instance, the San Luis. It loses concealment and torpedo power and maneuverability, but it's able to deal a lot more damage because it has much higher DPM, albeit with 9 instead of 10 guns. So it basically replaced the long-range HE spammer playstyle that the Ibuki was good at, and then you've just had a few other ships come in, like the Buffalo, which has 12 203mm guns and a reload that is on par with the Ibuki, or maybe slightly better. So this is a ship that just hasn't really, you know, stood up to its longevity as well as some other ships have. But here we go with this replay. This is going to be one hell of a carry. We're getting into the combat now. An enemy Zhao is appearing in the sea cap. You can see that his team has deployed about even split, with a whole bunch of ships going over to the west and then a whole bunch of ships going over here to the east. The B cap has been secured by the enemy team. However, his team does manage to get the first blood as an enemy destroyer, the Chungmu, gets obliterated by the Republique. So, you know, a good start right here. And they also have one of the enemy destroyers, the Fletcher, that's out in front, spotted right now. The Khabarovsk pushed up into a position to be able to close the distance enough to where the concealment is not a problem, and they're getting some very effective fire into that Fletcher. However, the Khabarovsk, for some reason, decided to move well out from behind his island cover, and after these shells land, you saw that the Khabarovsk was at about 3/4 hit points, and when we take a peek at him once more, yeah, he's not doing very good. The enemy Iowa snuck up the 9 line and was able to get into a very powerful spot and on the flank, was able to take care of business. And now, unfortunately, there is some torpedoes coming Rob's way, but he's going to have to move out of dodge, and he's going to be able to do so as he goes between the 4th and the 5th torpedoes in that spread. But unfortunately, the Khabarovsk getting taken down by the enemy Iowa and some of the other ships that were shooting at him. Just too much firepower for a destroyer to be able to stand up to. Even a Khabarovsk with the heal and the large amount of HP is going to get obliterated if it's focused down like that. So now he's in a position here where he's going to be able to get some good shots on the enemy Iowa that pushed up on the flank. You can see that 3FM is also moving up into a position to potentially get some torpedoes on that guy. However, the enemy team does have a large congregation of ships just to the south of the sea cap, so the worm here has to be very careful. And the reason being is because, well, there's really not that much support over here. There are a few ships that are off to the west, but they're a little bit too far away from the sea cap. So if he does get spotted right here, he's probably really going to be the only person that the enemy ships just south of sea are going to be able to take a pot shot at. There is a friendly Des Moines there, but he's not in a very good position, and he's only on half health, and it appears the Des Moines does get spotted now because some shells are going downrange at him. So very quickly here, it's going to be Rob and 3FM more or less alone to the east, to the northeast, I should say, of the sea cap. Now, he does decide to drop his torpedoes, and again, these are 10-kilometer torps, so you can get some decent stealth firing capability with these things. However, the build that he has is a very interesting one, and it's something that I forgot to mention at the beginning, but there's two things that are very apparent. One, he has 42,000 plus hit points, which means he does have survivability expert, and two, if you look at the minimap, he has 10.8 kilometers of concealment. So that means that he has a rudder shift build instead of a full concealment build, which allows the Ibuki to have a ridiculous rudder shift time. I think it's somewhere in the area of about 5 seconds, which is on par with some of the crappier destroyers, but of course this thing is much bigger than the DD, so it turns on a dime. However, now he's moved out to the 9 line to be able to get some shots here on the enemy Iowa. 3FM still has not decided to drop his torpedoes yet, but maybe he's just waiting for the reload. I'm not 100% sure when he did use his torpedoes last, and he is laying a smokescreen for Rob as he gets some great RNG, 4 shell breaks, but 2 fires set right on the center line of the enemy Iowa. Now, something about the Japanese cruisers in general, with the obvious exception being the Zao, is that they actually can make the AP work at ranges of under 10 kilometers. You do have to get pretty close to do it, but at this kind of range, this 203mm AP is still going to be able to deal a pretty decent amount of damage on a Citadel if you manage to hit the right spot. And as the salvo goes downrange, a nice double Citadel and change on the enemy Zao, dealing about 9,400 damage. So a very good salvo right there. He still has the armor piercing loaded, and the Zao is actually in a bad spot. He cannot turn right because the Iowa is blocking his forward bit of movement there. And he's at another bad angle to get hit for over 11,000 points of damage. So a very nice salvo right there. 2 great AP salvos, and even with the very crappy DPM that the Ibuki has, if you do put yourself in the right positions, you can still take advantage of the armor-piercing shot. And the third salvo that goes downrange does manage to take care of that tier 10 Japanese heavy cruiser. So 3 good AP usages right there, and you can see that the damage did spike up quite considerably because he did have 2 fires burning on the Iowa, who was finished off by 3FM's torpedo salvo. So with 2 enemy ships dealt with, there's not as many in the area of C, but they're still going to be in a bad spot because the team right now is basically separated into 3 pods of ships. The enemy fleet has completely controlled everything up to the 6 and the 5 line, and the forces that are over to the west of A are incapable of getting any resets on the cap. So the enemy team is going to have all 3 of these caps going here as they get another kill, and they're going to be racking up the points very, very quickly. And this is quickly turning into a very bad situation where, unfortunately, there's just nobody really around to be able to give direct support, and unfortunately there's a Des Moines that is coming after both of them right now. Rob is not going to be able to get undetected here for quite some time. So yeah, at this point 3FM is launching some torpedoes down at him, and he's going to move into position to get some torpedoes off as well. But this Des Moines has him in a very bad spot because now he's close to the map border, and what's going to happen is that when he hits it, for those of you that don't know, you actually lose, and your speed is reduced. You lose your engine power. So right now, one of those torpedoes needs to get the kill on this guy, or they're going to be in a very bad situation, and with really no escape route, and that Des Moines will be able to take care of them. But it appears that the torpedo does slam home from 3FM. A very nice kill right there, as Rob managed almost 10,000 damage on that salvo. That is ridiculous with the high explosive shot, but that's the thing about the Ibuki. That's what you get with the high explosive shells on this thing. But yeah, a nice torpedo salvo right there, and a very important thing just happened. The enemy destroyer, the enemy gearing, was detonated by the Republique seconds before the Republique kicked the bucket. And that is going to loom large over the course of this replay, and the reason being is because when we get to the later stages, I just want you guys to notice the amount of points that the enemy team is able to accrue before some things happen, and we'll get to that. But the Des Moines taken care of. Now that 3 enemy ships have been dispatched over on the 9 and 10 line. They're going to move into the objective at sea. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, well, Sneaky, these guys haven't really been in a good position to be able to support the cap. They really haven't done all that much, regardless of the kills. You know, this is still going to be a loss. And there's already some Debbie Downers in chat that I've seen where it's like, oh, this game's over with. And don't get me wrong, if I was in this situation, I would be thinking to myself, you saw right there, I'd be thinking to myself that, yeah, I'm not sure about this. But this is why this video is being featured today. So here we go. So they're going to move into the sea cap. You can quite clearly observe on the minimap that there is a Shimakaze that was last spotted in the vicinity of H7. There's also an enemy Minotaur that was over in the sea cap as well. And they're going to go headlong back into that capture point. So when you're in a situation like this, where the enemy team has 3 caps and they have a huge lead, what needs to happen is you need to get frags very, very quickly. Because if you've lost track of the point total, they're almost down by 600 points. And it's going to get to 600 points really quickly. But you saw right there, as Worm zoomed in with his binocular view, there were shells coming from the enemy Minotaur shooting over there. So they know that they're going to be stumbling into the Minotaur here shortly, and that is why he has the armor-piercing shot loaded, because of course the Minotaur has the extremely large citadel, and even Japanese heavy cruiser AP is plenty good enough to get citadels on that. And not a moment too soon here is 3FM is getting ready to get into the cap, and the enemy Ibuki, or excuse me, the enemy Minotaur is going to stumble right around the corner any second now. There we go. He gets detected, and oh, hello there. And this is probably the perfect scenario for 3FM to be in, because he's close enough to where he can just hug the guy. The Minotaur is going to get one, salvo off on him with the guns, and then later, dude, there we go. The devastating strike, a point-blank nuclear bomb goes off on the Minotaur as 3FM picks up another kill there. And you can see that the friendly gearing actually over at A was able to delay, and he is capturing the A point. So a bit of crafty footwork over there by the gearing has managed to get him into a position where he's going to be able to get that A cap, and it's going to give Worm and 3FM's team some points here, and this is the second point of this replay. Again, him being able to get on the A cap is going to loom large here as the enemy team gets closer and closer to 1,000 points. Now 3FM here hooking up his buddy once more with the smoke screen. Granted, the Japanese DD smoke screens aren't the best, but they still provide plenty of stealth firing opportunity. And certainly Worm is going to take plenty advantage of that, as he's going to get some very good high explosive shots into the enemy Conqueror. And this is a Japanese cruiser player's dream, being able to farm battleships, specifically ones that are coated in 32 millimeters of armor all over the place, like the Conqueror or the Republique is, and it just makes farming these things so easy and so much fun, because that damage counter really starts to spike up. You can notice based off of the shell tracker that most of the shells that do impact are full penetrations, where they're able to get a significant amount of damage, and even with the mega heal that the Conqueror does have, you're going to see that here. He's getting down to about 8,000 hit points, and he is going to press, at least for me, the T key to get his heal going. But it's really not going to matter all that much, because he is too close to Worm here, and the majority of the shells from every salvo, I mean, look at that. Almost 10,000 damage as he picks up the Witherer. 10 painting trading hits, that is the entire salvo finding the mark, which is just, at this kind of range, it's what you'd expect. But that guy's just taking so much damage right there. A blind shot, 6,000 plus damage right into the bow. This guy has taken almost 15k in 2 salvos from a cruiser, getting battleship levels of alpha strike with just the high explosive. And that's, again, I've mentioned it a few times before already. That's why Japanese cruisers, that's their trump card. That's what they do so well, that high alpha strike, high explosive shells that are just able to make mincemeat of anything that they touch. Another good salvo going in, another boatload of penetrations, another solid chunking from the enemy Conqueror. He's down to about 3,800 hit points, so hopefully this is going to be able to get the kill here on this next salvo. The shell's going down range, the accuracy is superb, and right as he gets detected, the Conqueror kicks the bucket as he picks up his next kill of the game. He's up to 165,000 points of damage, and now the scores have been brought back a little bit. The enemy team is still close to 900 points, however, they are going to be able to get control of the B cap, as 3FM and the friendly gearing have been able to take care of the capture point right there. So it's still potentially winnable. It's 5 versus 5 at this point, but what cannot really happen here is that Rob's team has somebody that kicks the bucket. Now, there are some torpedoes going downrange at the Alabama. It looks like 3FM got the angle on that guy, and even with the great torpedo belt, it only takes 3 from 38K to get another devastating strike. That's his second of the game, taking care of that Tier 8 premium American battleship. So a very monster torpedo salvo right there, which is obviously to the benefit of the team. And now they're only 400 points down, and they have a 2-to-1 capture zone lead here. So it's looking pretty good now. I mean, it was looking a lot more dire earlier, but at the moment, they have the ship lead, and what's more important, they still have 2 destroyers afoot to be able to get, you know, torpedoes on target and get more capture points. So that's really good. But, you know, they're probably at the point feeling like, maybe this is carryable. It's certainly doable. However, something that I just noticed on the minimap, and something that maybe some of you guys might have noticed a little bit earlier, there is an enemy San Luis in the spawn that is AFK. And this is probably the third really big thing that made this comeback potentially possible. He's AFK. So this entire battle, his team got rolled when it was 11 versus 12. So with that being the case, they're going to take advantage of it. 3FM, you can see on screen, he's dumping 2 salvos of torpedoes downrange at that French cruiser. It's an unfortunate thing that happens. It's very annoying when it happens, but, you know, you got to take advantage of the cards that you're dealt with. And this is going to be another guaranteed kill to get the enemy team down to only 3 ships left. Now, the enemy Montana makes a bit of a questionable play here, and he decides to go into the B cap. Now, I'm not 100% sure why he did so, because it makes ambushing him very, very easy. So as 3FM is going to continue his march towards the A cap, he's going to go get on it and potentially get into a position where him and the gearing are going to be able to get cross torps on the Montana, who's just kind of sitting there at the corner. Now, this is the 4th, I guess, mistake or bit of luck that happens here as he gets the high caliber. He turns away, eats a Citadel from the Montana. That could have easily been his entire ship gone right there. A bit of an ill-advised turn, and right there does, you know, that... Oh, I'm sorry about that. That's the 12 o'clock horn, I guess, if you can hear it. The reason why that wasn't a very good play was because he, you know, the concealment, 10.8 kilometers. With a full concealment build, the Ibuki gets down to about 9.7. So he would have come around the corner undetected if he had a full stealth build. But unfortunately, he got a little bit too close to the enemy Montana. And with that being the case, he ate a lot of unnecessary damage. But that's really the only big... that's really the only big thing that I can really take away from Worm's gameplay here in this one, is just a little bit careless with the hit points right there that almost cost them the game, because you saw how close the enemy team was to being able to win it. If he would have died right there, they would have had about 990 points and it would have been all but over. However, they now have all 3 of the capture points, and there's only 3 ships left, and you can see that 3FM is coming around the corner to get a point-blank range torpedo salvo, and he's going to get this very nice ambush drop on the Montana, using a smoke screen to try and dodge. The Montana misses, and kaboom! Another big hit with the torpedoes, high caliber, and Kraken unleashed for 3FM. That is a monster game in the Yugumo that he's having, and it's also a great game that's going on here with the TheWickedWyrm, as he does get detected. He's now going to move into the C cap. His team is only losing the game now by about 150-ish points, and he's going to get onto the C cap. You can see that it is being captured at the moment, and the smokescreen does appear right in front of him. The enemy Shima somehow, inexplicably, gets a little bit too close, and he manages to land 6 shells on target. He's now going to drop 1 set of torpedoes. He switches to the widespread, but unfortunately, I don't think he realized it at the time that his next set of torpedoes was broken. So here comes the enemy Shimakaze torpedoes. Is he going to be able to get out of the way in time? He is on a perpendicular course to the Shimmy torps, and he should be able to maneuver and dodge his way out. The Fletcher gets spotted for the briefest of seconds, and he's going to try to do a blind shot over to where his position was, but he is not going to get the hits that he needed on that guy. But he's only down to about 300 some hit points, and you can see that 3FM and the gearing are making their best speed over to the C cap, so it should be a-okay. And then something is going to happen here that defies all logic. I have no idea how this occurred, but right as the Fletcher appears and Rob gets behind the island to present himself to an angle that is safe from torpedo attack any second now. I have no idea I have absolutely no idea. That was just... I don't even know what to say, but good old Fletcher boy over there is dead, and that ends the replay here on Hotspot. Alrighty guys, taking a look now at the post-battle results. 3FM's personal score, 771,000 credits received, and 7.5k total experience earned. He picked up 3 dev strikes, a Kraken, and a high caliber, dealing 203,000 points of damage off of 14 torpedo hits. He sank 5 enemy ships, caused 12 floodings, 2 solo base captures, and 1 assisted base capture. Taking a look at the WickedWyrm's personal score, 513,000 credits received, 8.8k total experience, Witherer, Dreadnought, and High Caliber, dealing 190,000 points of damage off of 184 shell hits. He sank 3 boats, set 12 fires, had 3 citadels, and had 8 base defense ribbons. And now for the Sublime, the team score. Yugumo, 3FM, 5 kills, 3,194 base experience. And then, of course, the Ibuki with the TheWickedWyrm at the helm, 3 kills, 2,904 base XP. I'll be honest with you guys, I have never seen 2 ships on the same team with at least 2,900 base XP. 2,900 is an absolute monster of a base XP game. And then 3FM was like, get good, kid, 3,194. I have honestly never seen 2 teammates with that high of a base XP score. I've seen a few games where, 3 or 4 guys have, 2k base XP, but one of them with 3,100 and the other with 29. That's just a monster carry of all monster carries. Taking a look at Rob's detailed report, 128,000 damage with the main batteries, 61,000 damage dealt with the fires. So that was awesome. It was a game that was looking really, really bad. And then they got the kills in a very timely manner, taking out the enemy ships one by one, and were able to have an epic comeback. So I hope you guys enjoyed this replay. And pardon me for the 12 o'clock horn that goes off here. I totally forgot about it before I started doing it, but I'm going to see if I can edit that out in the Movie Maker editor. There's a built-in audio mixer that I can try and mess around with. So, but 3FM, WickedWyrm, thanks guys. This was a ridiculous teamwork replay to commentate on. When I first saw the result and I first watched the replay, I was just like, holy shit. That's basically the best way to put it. And of course, 3, as you like to say, big dick players make big dick plays. That was certainly the case with this replay. With that being said, this is Noodle Boy for BIA World of Warships signing off. Thank you guys for all of the support that you give us, and thank you for watching our videos. It's always nice to do this stuff, and it's great to interact with all of you and the community as a whole, and it's just a really fun time. So thank you again, and with that being said, have a great day.